This is Carolina Business Review. Major support provided by High Point University, the premier life skills university focused on preparing students for the world as it is going to be. Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association. Sunoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries.
It is probably not too early to say happy holidays, so happy holidays. I am Chris William, and we are glad you're watching. And welcome again to the most widely watched and the longest-running dialogue around Carolina business, policy, and the public affairs issues here in our region. We will hit the ground running in a moment with our panel, but later on, JetZero has a stark, striking, and a new commercial airplane design, futuristic for sure. These aircraft will be made in Greensboro, actually Guilford County, according to what North Carolina Economic Development announced this past summer. We'll be joined by the president and the chief operating officer, Dan Silva, in just a moment.
Major funding also by Foundation for the Carolinas, a catalyst for philanthropy and driver of civic engagement, helping individuals, nonprofits, and companies bring their charitable visions to life. Truliant Federal Credit Union, proudly serving the Carolinas since 1952 by focusing on what truly matters, our members' financial success. Welcome to Brighter Banking. And Martin Marietta, a leading provider of natural resource-based building materials, providing the foundation on which our communities improve and grow. On this edition of Carolina Business Review, Tony Mecia from the Charlotte Ledger, Sam Konduros from the Greenville City Economic Development Corporation, and special guest, Dan Silva, President and COO of JetZero.
Hello, welcome again to our program. Thanks for the support. And gentlemen, welcome back. Happy holidays. Too early to say that? Can we say that?
I think we can say that. Let's do it.
It's, it's going to be here in the momentum. Here we go. Speaking of holidays and celebration, Michelin Guide, Michelin Star Guide. It was all the hubbub in the beginning of the year, how they were going to start looking at the Carolinas. They have looked at the Carolinas, and they have given ratings. So here we go. Game on, right, Tony? Charlotte had one or two.
Had one getting a coveted Michelin star, recommended another 10 or 12 others, and one that's a Bib Gourmand, which is a local affordable eatery. Because a lot of these are expensive. These are high-end kinds of places. The one that got the star in Charlotte, it's called Counter. Right. Its menu, it's a tasting menu. It starts at $215 per person without alcohol.
So does this now go up because they have a Michelin?
Well, we'll see. I mean, usually, this is thought of as a really good boon for Charlotte's, restaurant industry and ones all over the Carolinas, really. But, they are fairly high end. These are kind of conventional choices. It's not like they found some diamonds in the rough or hidden gems. These have been on lists, restaurant lists for a while. But the thinking is, I think that it's really going to create food tourism. Yeah. It will, for those restaurants, it's very helpful, and I think it will increase pressure to have bigger wine lists, more tasting menus, really build up the upper end of the restaurants.
Okay, and is this wind at the back for places in Charleston? Because this was kind of this is their thing, right? Right. And they got, how many restaurants had been reviewed?
Down in Charleston was maybe four recognized on some level, including a star. Then Greenville, obviously where I'm from, 4 restaurants, with one scoundrel receiving a Michelin star, one a Bib Gourmand, which is a real classic, iconic restaurant that's been there for decades, called Sobeys, and even one of our great local barbecue joints. So yeah, and in terms of Greenville emerging as a destination city, made it in the top 10 travel leisure best food cities in America this past year. So it is a thing, and it will definitely drive more tourism. And I'm told it'll be hard to get a reservation for a while at Scoundrels.
So this is an ignorant question, Sam. I'll ask you this. This is not the first year that Michelin is doing this. They're not doing this to feel good. I mean, you've got to hit all of the bogeys to get that 1-star or at least honorable mention.
I mean,
is that right?
is the most coveted.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
It's a mysterious process. They don't really say, it's like secret inspectors going in and.
It's like getting upgrades on an airplane.
Right. I mean, these are internationally recognized standards of excellence, and it's the first time it's been in the Carolinas, so there's a lot of excitement.
What kind of economic impact is that for Greenville? You got 4 stores or four restaurants that show up.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we've become recognized as a food city, and we have wine and food festival called Euphoria, and so many different festivals, Artisphere, where we put that front and center. So it has become part of our reputation. Even a lot of great Charleston restaurants that moved inland to have a variation on their theme in cities like Greenville. This just notches it up to another level. And what we're convinced is tourism and people coming to the city for a variety of reasons, conference, vacation, or whatever, often leads to decisions to move to the city, to invest, or to move a business.
So we're in Q4, got past the election fairly unscathed. In places like Charlotte, transportation, housing, healthcare, like many other urban areas in the Carolinas, was high. Transportation especially, $25 billion vote was needed for a new plan, long-term plan. It passed, much closer than many people thought. Is that a handicap that it didn't have the full wind at the back, or does it really matter?
I think a win is a win. I mean, it's it's 52% in favor, 48% opposed. I mean, this is said to be the biggest public works project in state history once you total it all out. Now it will be over 30 years or more, but yeah, it's a huge plan. $25 billion, more rail, more buses, expanded roads, sidewalks, and it's going to be all over Mecklenburg County. And the hope is to expand it throughout the region. And you might see other parts of North Carolina looking at this to try to increase the sales tax where they are to help with this chronic issue of traffic and
You
growth.
mean if it works for Charlotte, you could see it?
Yeah, I think so. It took a special act of the legislature to kind of get this through, and I think a lot of people around the state are watching it saying, can we do that where we are to try to fix some of these road problems that we're having?
So the closeness of the vote portended the idea that many folks had said publicly was this thought that, wait a minute, we're going to vote a $25 billion gimme is not the right way to say it, Tony, but you've got that kind of control with a commission that hasn't been named yet, is being named. I get that part, but accountability is high on people's list, and many folks have gone from skeptic to cynical about public leadership. Did that factor into the dialogue here? Is that going to be a tail on this?
Well, I think there was a lot of cynicism about whether the city of Charlotte should actually be running this. So that's why they created this independent commission, this independent 27-member authority that's a little bit insulated from some of the politics.
Accountable to who?
Well, it's appointed by the city and the county and the state. And so, I mean, ultimately, these are not elected, but, they're appointed by people who are elected. So it's a little bit of insulation there, but it's a public body, it'll have public meetings. So it should all be out in the open.
Yeah. Okay. Sam, when you hear those kind of plans being rolled out in places like Charlotte, does Greenville need that kind of boost for transportation and transit?
We need continuous improvement constantly with our exploding population.
What's the challenge?
32 new residents a day, and I'd say roads in particular is probably the number one complaint in terms of, residents who feel that we're growing too fast. For the first time in the Carolinas, you do have a subset of folks who are kind of an anti-growth sentiment and
becoming more public about it.
Yes, I think so. I think at the local level, even the last election cycle, there's just some change out of folks that want to be much more conservative about incentives and make sure that local jobs are let's just say there's positive tension around it, and infrastructure is a big deal. So livability issues, whether it's affordable housing, public transit, mobility, but in particular, I'd say roads and traffic. I'm proud of Charlotte for pulling off what you did, and I think, yes, Greenville, we continually are focused on that topic.
Yeah. Do you feel like, you called it positive tension? That's an interesting way to couch it. Do you feel like that opposition will be healthy going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just keeps us all very accountable. As I tell folks often, move to a city that's not growing for a year and see how you like that. There are trade-offs with growth, but there's a lot of good reasons, and you can't sit still. So, reasons, for instance, that this Corporation for Economic Development was formed in Greenville is we know that 30 years ago, it was about cost in the Carolinas. Come to the Carolinas, lower cost, lower wages. We're not selling anything cheap. It's quality now. Right. We're expected to be very competitive, but it's talent and lifestyle that are really making decisions now. So at any rate, I think it's a balance, and we need to keep growing. We just want to do it in a much more targeted, smart, selective way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thank you. Gentlemen, thanks, stay with us. Coming up on our program, we do this every year about this time, or close to this time. We have a two-parter, economic review for the prior year and an economic forecast for the coming year. We have this rotating idea of who our panelists will be, and they're always almost the same economists. They include Dr. John Connaughton from UNC Charlotte, Mark Vittner from Piedmont Crescent, Dr. Frank Hefner from the College of Charleston, and Dr. Joey Von Nessen from USC will be on that panel. It's always spirited. It's always interested. I hope you come back for that. For a while now, both North and South Carolina were on this tear. Seemingly every week there would be this huge announcement, and we almost got used to it. Very large economic development announcements. And just this past summer, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein announced another one. This one, $4 billion impact, 14,500 jobs roughly, located in Guilford County, which rings Greensboro, and it's called JetZero. They are a commercial, industrial, and military airframe manufacturer for sure, but as the company calls it, and I'm quoting, it's a whole new experience within the existing airport and airline infrastructure. That's interesting. Joining us now is JetZero President, Chief Operating Officer, Dan De Silva. Dan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Chris. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Dan, help us understand. So we're talking about an airplane, and we all know what that looks like. But how is this vision different? How is your vision different than even what a new sleek Boeing would look like?
Yeah, it's interesting that the JetZero mission is to reshape aviation, and it's a play on the word because the airplane itself has a different shape. The technology that we're basing our design on is not entirely new. It's been studied by NASA and other manufacturers for over 35 years. And it's called the blended wing body. It's a variation on the flying wing because you have to have a body to carry actual payload, in this case, passengers or cargo. The idea is good because this shape allows the airplane to generate lift throughout the entire airplane. The fuselage is not just a weight, it actually generates lift just like a wing. So we also call it an all-wing airplane. And that makes the airplane more efficient. It's 30% more aerodynamically efficient. The shape also contributes to the efficiency of the structure, because you don't have a wing pulling up and a fuselage pulling down, everything is pulling up. So that joint between the wing and the body is more efficient and makes it for a lighter structure. So it's a virtuous cycle. You end up with better aerodynamic efficiency, lower weight in the structure, which allows you to use smaller engines, burn less fuel, and then that's lighter in itself. It's just this cycle of virtuosity. Yeah.
Okay. Question, Tony?
Yeah, it seems like building airplanes would be a very capital-intensive business. What's it been like raising money, getting investment, working with capital markets to make this happen?
Yeah, it is a very capital-intensive business. I like to joke with people that, yes, it takes billions of dollars to start an aerospace enterprise. And there was a time when billions of dollars was a lot of money. It's not anymore. And I say that jokingly because, yes, of course, billions of dollars is a lot of money. But if you see what is available today in venture capital, PE, private equity in the United States, and the size of our capital markets, it's a small blip. And the benefit that this product can bring to the country is enormous, not just from a reindustrialization basis, so generating high-tech jobs, generating new investments in other technologies such as robotics, AI, digital twinning and digital creation of designs, but also because it'll contribute to our national security. This airplane makes a fabulous tanker for the U.S. Air Force. So to go back to your question, $235 million was what the U.S. government, through the U.S. Air Force, invested in this company as a grant. It's not even an equity investment, because they wanted this technology to come to fruition, to be proven on a full-scale basis. It's been studied for over 35 years in computer fluid dynamics, wind tunnels, scale models, but nobody has flown a blended wing body in full scale, and the Air Force says, we want that proven, and if it's proven, it'll make a fabulous tanker for the Air Force, which will help us with force projection in the Pacific. And you can guess who we're worried about in the Pacific, right?
Yeah. Sam?
Sure. What an exciting project, and great for the Carolinas. I'd be interested, and I'm sure some of the viewers would too, maybe a little bit of the thought process during the decision phase. Importance of incentives, let's say, relative to talent, which I find a lot of the companies we work obsessed with talent. And
it is a very interesting process. I have to confess that when I started the process at the company, I joined the company and the CEO told me, first thing you need to do is figure out where we're going to build this airplane. And he said, we don't need any help with that. I was like, I don't think so. We hired a company called Savills as a partner, and they helped us through a process that took about 16 months. We started with over 20 locations in 13 different states, narrowed it down at the beginning of 2025 to 3 states, 3 finalist states. And the process was, at that point, not driven by the incentives. It was driven by the availability of labor, the availability of labor workforce training, workforce development at all levels, because we need engineers, we need executives, we need HR specialists, we need communications specialists, but we also need manufacturing technicians, we need robotics operators, we need machine operators. So it's a whole ecosystem of workforce training that North Carolina has shown us a great desire to build with us, custom built for JetZero. So that was a great attraction for us.
Well, and North Carolina announced the deal, Josh Stein announced the deal in June-ish.
Yes.
Has the financial calculus changed between tariffs, uncertain economy, jobs, et cetera, since then for you?
It has not changed for us, Chris, because our business is very long-term. So when we look at the current economic environment, we see it as something that, yes, might affect some of our construction phase, whether it's through the materials or the cost of labor. But in general, when we're looking at the airplane itself and we project that we'll have a global supply chain, mostly focused in the United States, but there are several tier 1, as we call them, suppliers in aerospace that are global in nature. So flight control computers could come from France. Our side stick controllers can come from the UK. But most of what we're looking at, engines, for example, U.S. providers.
Who makes the engine?
Pratt & Whitney is our partner, engines for now.
And sorry, one quick follow-up is I think about what's the wild card between now, in your mind, what is the wild card, the thing that, we're watching this between now and wheels up on the first plane off the line?
There are several things that are challenging for us. I think obviously the capital stack, as we call it, to get to that point is one of the challenges. So wild card is what happens to the capital markets. What we're seeing right now is very positive. We're seeing a trend where the current administration is incentivizing foreign countries to invest in industrialization in America. They're incentivizing the likes of JP Morgan, for example, to form funds to bring back reindustrialization. And that is all very positive for us because that signals that there's policy making that is moving in the direction that helps us. Everything that you hear today in the press about the interest of the administration in reindustrializing focuses in things that we hit all the all the check marks. High-tech jobs, as I mentioned, dual-use defense and commercial, reestablishing the U.S. primacy in aerospace, which we've lost. I spent 33 years of my career at Boeing and loved the company, learned a lot, learned everything from them, but they have stumbled and they lost market share to Airbus. So it's not right for the United States to have only 35% of the commercial aviation market. We need to reestablish that dominance.
Yeah, Tony.
What are the advantages in being in the Greensboro area? Because it seems like there are a lot of manufacturers now that are setting up, in the triad. You also have, you have Boeing down in Charleston. It does seem like you have a lot of aircraft manufacturers moving to the Carolinas or starting up, trying some things in the Carolinas. What is it about this area that, and you mentioned workforce, but are there other advantages? Are there follow-on suppliers? I mean, what is it about Greensboro and the Carolinas more?
It was interesting, Tony, because when we started the process, I actually had told the companies, like, we want to focus on the Southeast United States, and they said, why? Well, we're not going to look anywhere else. It's like, well, you have to convince me to look somewhere else. And the reason is a business-friendly environment, right? So North Carolina was voted, best place to do business in America for a reason. It's all about a combination of what I mentioned about workforce development, but also tax environment, the incentives for the business to grow, and permitting, everything around it. But also the Greensboro Airport has done something very visionary. They went through the Field of Dreams process, correct? If you build it, they will come. So they leveled some land. They had enough land. We needed over 750 acres of land for the size of our enterprise. And they did that. They cleared one side of the airport, and then they built this enormous bridge, which is a taxiway over the highway, over Highway 73. And that was dimensioned for up to an Airbus A380 size, which is the largest commercial airplane that is made today. So they had the vision to prepare for a large aerospace manufacturer to go there. So for us, that really helped with our decision.
Sam.
I'll really kind of build on Tony's question by saying, again, aerospace aviation clusters are so important to both Carolinas. Again, Boeing building the 787 in Charleston, next generation F-16 being built by Lockheed in Greenville. This is going to be a huge boost having you in the Greensboro area. So in addition to the suppliers, just in terms of what I'll call knowledge economy opportunities and innovation, do you see potential for the Carolinas with our research universities, along with leading edge, system integrators and businesses, able to contribute to really what I'll call the innovation side of these next generation of the industry? And you're going to be kind of leading the pack in a number of ways. Absolutely.
In fact, one of our first engagements after the announcement was with the North Carolina University system. And we made it clear to them it's not just about the research we have to do in service of building the airplane. It is also about everything that surrounds it. It's education around AI. It's education around robotics, advanced manufacturing, the supply chain. We just had meetings this week with two of the schools around their supply chain program, because building an airplane in series is a challenging feat. And one of the reasons is I had a boss at Boeing that used to say a production airplane is nothing more than millions of parts flying in formation. So you have to figure out how to bring those millions of parts together one place at the right time, at the right sequence, without failure, because if they don't show up, you can't build the airplane. So supply chain is extremely important. You hear so much about supply chain these days. After COVID, it became sort of the buzzword, it's a supply chain issue. Well, supply chain is key, and where a lot of aerospace manufacturers fail is in supply chain. So we went to the universities and said, we have to work together to create the right curriculum in a supply chain program that will support what we're doing. We want your students to come out, walk into JetZero, and be able to work in our supply chain environment with minimal training. So they can't be just academically trained, they have to be practically trained.
Is there and we've got a minute left, this is not going to be a fair question to ask you, get that in there, but is there a model for you to follow with Scott Keogh and Scout Motors in South Carolina? It's a different product, obviously, but transportation, moving a whole bunch of ground, looking for housing, looking for the infrastructure to build around it. Do they kind of pave the way, no pun intended?
I think every new industrial company that has located in the Carolinas have paved the way for us. And that's why it was so important for us to hire a partner to do the site selection for us, because they have done work for other companies. They've done work for Hyundai in Georgia. They've done work for other aerospace companies in the South. So we learn a lot through that relationship, and learn what to do and what not to do.
And literally in 15 seconds, when's the first one off the end of the runway, you hope?
We have two. First is our technology demonstrator. We'll be in 2027. That will be in Mojave, California. And by 2029, 2030, our first commercial airplane out of Greensboro.
That's very exciting, Dan. Thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Did you drive or fly to get here?
Oh, I flew from D.C. to Greensboro, and I drove from Greensboro to here.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Please come back.
Nice seeing you, too.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
to see you. Sam, welcome. Good to have you here. Thanks for rescheduling, because I know you did.
Yes, sir.
Tony, always nice to have you.
Thanks, Chris.
Until next week, I'm Chris William. We can say happy holidays, so happy holidays. Be safe. Good night.
Gratefully acknowledging support by Martin Marietta, Truliant Federal Credit Union, Foundation for the Carolinas, Sunoco, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, High Point University, and by viewers like you. Thank you.